Welcome to the 2053 Harriet Tubman Escape to Freedom experience. This virtual escape room will last an hour, including a reflective discussion at the end. The year is now 2053, and African American wealth has fallen to zero. According to Sean Rochester, systematic oppression and bias in housing, healthcare access, and educational opportunities, as well as employment and wage inequality, have combined to make retirement insecurity a pressing issue for Blacks. Anti-Black bias manifests itself in the form of discriminatory behavior that results in a quantitative economic cost, which has an intergenerational effect on Black Americans at all levels and dramatically increases retirement insecurity. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to find the consciousness of Harriet Tubman, a legendary conductor on the Underground Railroad who secured freedom for herself and her family. Upload her memories, triumphs, and secrets to freedom. Listen to her voice. Learn her history to secure financial freedom in your time. As always, should you or anyone from your group be caught and captured, the VR collab will disavow any knowledge of your actions. This video will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Good luck.
This is the Thompson Farm or Thompson Plantation. This is where Harriet and her mother and father were enslaved. This is the place where she came back countless of times to rescue family and friends. Now, her objective at first was her family, her mother and father, and her brothers and sisters that remained. She had already had 2 sisters sold south, but she did make a journey during the holiday season of Christmas to come back and rescue her brothers. She would come back to this very location, down this very lane, to make this escape. Now, her father, Ben, who at this time was still a very important Black man in this area, he ran a sawmill not far away from here. He was very, very well thought of by his owner at the time, Dr. Thompson. So he would be what you would call a supervisor in today's terms, but of course without the recognition. At this very lane, she would come down, go up to the big house, hide in the corn crib, which is still on the property, waiting for the correct time or the proper time to leave. Also, in her last journey here, she would rescue her father and mother. And it's a picture that Mark Priest has done with her on a 1-axle cart and her mother and father leaving this place. Now, she would leave from here, Pennsylvania, New York, and she would extremely go up to Canada, because at this time, the fugitive slave law was enacted. That means even Pennsylvania and New York wasn't even free. That meant the people could come, the slave catchers and different ones could come to New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and grab you and take you into bondage and sell you down south. They wouldn't know where you came from, but all their job was to just gather up as many emancipated people or free people as they could and take them down south and sell them for a profit. This jewel of a place right here at the very lane when Harriet Tubman came up is very special because of the simple fact this is where the journey began. This is where it all started. This is where she came back to several times to help along with the freedom seeking. So the Thompson Farm would be owned by a wealthy doctor, Dr. Anthony Thompson. He would be the person that owned Ben, Harriet, and the children. She would escape from here on her first journey, and then to the mill and to the Leverton house on the way to journeying for freedom. We're standing on the lane of the Brothers Farm. This very lane behind me would be the lane going up to the big house. What I mean by the big house is where the Robert Brothers actually lived. The story here is hallowed ground, and this is where the two sisters of her were sold from. This is also where Harriet was hired out as a young girl to different farms in the area. This very lane would be traveled back and forth with Harriet Tubman herself, this very ground. Her father, Ben, would come here and visit his children right here on the Brothers Farm. And as you go down this road down here a little ways and go around the bend, that's actually where the house was. Now, this place right here also is where Harriet Tubman married her first husband, John Tubman. He was a free black man in this community, meaning he was born free. Also, this is where she really came to terms with the terrible institution of slavery. What I mean by that, she found out that this was not fair and equal treatment to her as a human being. She would pray that something would happen to change her situation on this farm, and it would. Robert Brothers would die on this farm, her owner, at a young age. At that time, when that happened, the man that owned her would actually have to transition the property over to somebody else, which would be his wife. The farm was so heavily indebted that she could not do anything besides sell off property, which at that time, the people of color, African Americans, were. Before that happened, Dr. Thompson, the owner of Ben, her father, Dr. Anthony Thompson, came and purchased this very property. He then moved them into another part of the state in Caroline County, and that's where the actual escapes happened. So here, the road that started the journey to freedom. Welcome to the Dorchester County Courthouse right behind me. This is the site of the slave auctions. This is where for hundreds of years that the slaves actually came in from the dreaded Middle Passage and from the coast of Africa. There are 2 documented trips here in Dorchester County where we are standing actually came here. As we're talking about Harriet Tubman in this narrative, we would know that Harriet Tubman would be born in Dorchester County. Her mother, Harriet, would be born here in Dorchester County, but her grandmother would have came in on a slave ship. Also right here at this courthouse, this is where Harriet Tubman orchestrated her first rescue attempt. She would not be here like on a lot of her journeys. She would not be on site, but she would be in Philadelphia, have been emancipated herself at this time. She got word that her niece Keziah Boley and her 2 children were going to be sold at this very courthouse. She wanted to come back here, but she was connected inside of this underground railroad system, this network of freedom, through a very important gentleman by the name of William Still. Mr. William Still made it possible through the Underground Railroad, the network of freedom, for them to be escaped from this place right here and taken down to the wharf that's down the street, and they gained their freedom. Most of the escapes from this point happen by boat. Also here, a man by the name of Sam Green received 10 years at this very courthouse, this jail, for owning a book by Harriet Beecher Stowe, and that was anti-slavery material. So, with the courthouse, this is a place of families being broken up, the actual selling of the African American people, and also where Harriet Tubman actually orchestrated her first rescue attempt.
Slavery is the next thing to hell.
Harriet Tubman was enslaved from the day she was born on a plantation in an area called Peter's Neck on the eastern shore of Maryland. One of her first memories was seeing her sisters taken away on a chain gang and lost forever. She never closed her eyes, she said, without imagining that she saw the horsemen coming and heard the screams of families being broken apart.
Every time I saw a white man, I was afraid of being carried away.
Born in 1822, Harriet Tubman's parents, Ben and Rit Ross, named her Araminta, or Minty for short. She would be enslaved for the next 27 years. Her parents were forced to live apart after Minty was born because they were enslaved by different masters. Minty Ross spent her childhood around Bucktown, enslaved by a farmer named Edward Brodus. He often hired out his enslaved people to other farmers for extra cash. For Minty, this began when she was just 6 years old. Her temporary master took her away from her mother, neglected her, beat her till they broke her ribs, and whipped her with